The structure of dilemma, crisis, decision and action and resolution features in nearly every story you will ever see. And you'll also often note this pharmacon principle at play that I've been talking about, where a cure is a poison and a poison is a cure. This happens when characters produce their own problems or they continually serve as their own greatest enemy. The author William S. Burroughs once noted that every man has inside himself a parasitic being who is acting not at all to his advantage. And as a tragedy, Oedipus shows us that we all suffer from something similar as we go through life. And so what I want to suggest is that Oedipus is really not a story that belongs to any particular genre. It's certainly a tragedy, but it's also a way of looking at the major inner form structures that we've been talking about already. Reason versus passion, innocence versus experience, and body versus soul. This is very important. So throughout the play, Oedipus has apparently chosen reason over passion. If he had chosen passion, he might have just ignored the call to investigate his past. He would have returned to his family to suffer the plague until the city was either destroyed or the disease just disappeared of its own accord. But his sense of reason was aligned with the need for justice and the need to know himself. And this is very important. He's going with reason versus passion. And he stuck with what his intellect told him was important above all, the truth. And truth is connected with reason. And at the same time, Oedipus is more innocent than any of the other characters, or many of them. Many of them, including his own wife Jocasta, they hold more knowledge than he does about his origins. And there's this withholding of information that creates this kind of coming-of-age story where he goes back through his infancy and learns the truth about his origins and has to grow up into accepting them by becoming an old man. And there's even a riddle about becoming an old man that he solves, and sort of really a self-fulfilling prophecy in many ways, despite the fact that he's skeptical of prophecy. So there's this powerful metaphor about how that we are left to fate, we have no real power, and yet at the same time, the steps that we take bring us in alignment of the forces of fate. And it's something that we see in literature again and again and again. The thing with Oedipus is that he just doesn't know that he's the murderer until he figures it out, because he's driven by his need for justice and reason. And so we have reason versus passion coming into conflict, and we have especially innocence versus experience coming into passion, because he's experienced in some ways, but he's completely innocent in others. And the people around him have more experience than he does, more insight. And so they're really robbing him in many ways of the truth and withholding information from him and trying to prevent him from becoming a person of experience based on his situation as being very innocent. Now, with respect to the tensions between the body and the soul, Oedipus's intellectual powers are a psychological gift, but when he punishes himself, it's really not just the exile that's experienced by his body and his mind, but he has this crude and irreversible physical punishment. It's as if Oedipus thinks that some burden on the spirit can be lifted by torturing the body, and this is this element of purgation, this ritualistic wounding by taking out the eyes to let out the poison through the body by funneling the psychological pain and the moral pain out through the blood. Now, as literature, Oedipus is almost a genre unto itself. It's a story that reveals the blueprint to creating any story, and we're going to think more about the idea of Oedipus as its own genre as we go through the rest of the course. Now, please be sure to post your thoughts about the Oedipus narrative in the group, and make sure that you've got that syllabus and you are able to follow up and do all the reading that has been suggested so you get the most out of this course.